Welcome to the Landscape Business AI podcast, the show for landscape and outdoor living business owners who are done being buried by admin, quotes and paperwork. I'm Nick Ruddle. I've spent nearly 20 years and over 10,000 hours coaching landscape businesses across the UK, and every episode I'm going to give you one real problem, one real story, and 3 things you can go and do this week to fix it. No fluff, no jargon, just what actually works. Let's get into it. The finance blind spot. You're busy, the diary's full, there's a van on every job, the phone's ringing with new inquiries, and by any outside measure, the business looks like it's doing well. And yet, every month you look at the bank balance and you can't quite work out where it all went. If that sounds familiar, you are nowhere near alone. In nearly 20 years of coaching landscape businesses, over 10,000 hours of one-to-one conversations, this is one of the most common things I sit across the table from. Owners who are clearly good at their trade, clearly busy, clearly winning work, and still lying awake at 2 a.m. wondering how they're going to cover payroll on Friday. Here's what's strange about it. It rarely feels like a money problem when you're in it. It feels like a busyness problem. You think, if I could just win a few more jobs, or take on one more crew, it'll sort itself out. So you push harder. You say yes to more work. And somehow the stress doesn't go down. It goes up. That's because it was never a sales problem to begin with. It's not even really a spending problem in most cases. It's a visibility problem. Most landscape business owners are flying blind on the handful of numbers that actually matter. What each job really costs once you account for materials, labour, plant hire and waste. Which contracts are quietly losing money the moment prices move. What's actually sitting in the bank versus what's owed to you and what you owe out. And the reason for that isn't a lack of intelligence or effort. It's that nobody built you a system for seeing it. You've been so busy running the business that you've never had the time to step back and build the reporting that would show you the truth. That's the gap this episode is about closing. I don't understand it. We're busier than ever and I've never had less money. That's almost word for word what an outdoor living business owner said to me a while back, sitting across the table looking genuinely bewildered. Good reputation locally, plenty of repeat clients, turning over a healthy amount of revenue, from the outside thriving. Vans liveried, crews smart, 5-star reviews rolling in. But the owner came to me exhausted, not physically. He was used to hard graft, that was never the issue. Exhausted in a different way. The kind of tired that comes from carrying something you can't quite name. He told me that some months he was taking home less than his own foreman, and he genuinely didn't understand how that was possible given how much work was going through the business. So we sat down and went through the numbers together, and fairly quickly it became obvious. The problem wasn't the work itself. The work was good. The problem was that he had no real reporting. Invoices were going out weeks late because nobody owned that job. Nobody was tracking which projects were actually profitable once you factored in the real cost of materials, which had crept up over the previous year without prices being adjusted to match. Some jobs were quietly losing money from the day they were quoted, and nobody would know until long after the fact. He was making every decision, what to quote, what to chase, what to say no to, based on gut feel and whatever the bank balance happened to say that week, not on data. And gut feel, however good yours is, cannot see a margin problem that's been building quietly for 8 months. That's when I brought in Kim Soanes from Soanes Accountancy Services. Kim doesn't just do the books. What she actually did for this business was get it properly structured from the ground up. Proper job costing, a chart of accounts that made sense for a landscape business rather than a generic template, and monthly reporting that the owner could actually read and act on, not just file away for the accountant once a year. Within a few months, something shifted. For the first time, this owner could see, job by job, month by month, exactly where the money was going and exactly where it was being made or lost. He wasn't guessing anymore. He knew which types of contracts to chase more of, which clients were quietly the most profitable, and which jobs he needed to either reprice or stop taking altogether. And the stress didn't lift because he suddenly earned more money that month. It lifted because he could finally see. There's a particular kind of relief that comes from replacing uncertainty with a clear number on a page, even when that number isn't perfect yet. That's the story I want you to hold on to from this episode. It wasn't more sales that fixed this business. It wasn't working longer hours. It was visibility. 1. Know your number, not your feeling. Most landscape business owners estimate profitability by how busy they feel or by what the bank balance looks like on a Friday. Neither of those things tells you the truth about any individual job. Here's what I want you to do this week. Pick your 3 biggest jobs from last month. For each one, work out the actual margin, not the quoted margin, the real one. Take the total invoice value, then subtract materials at what you actually paid, not what you budgeted. Labour at real hours worked, including any overrun, plant hire, and a fair allowance for waste and wear on kit. What's left is your real margin. Most owners who do this exercise for the first time are shocked by at least one of those 3 jobs. Usually it's the one that felt the busiest and most successful at the time. Lots of activity, lots of site visits, everyone rushing around. That turns out to have the thinnest margin because busyness and profitability are not the same thing. A quiet, well-planned job with tight material control will often out-earn a chaotic one that felt like a big win. Do this every month, not as a one-off. It takes an hour if your paperwork is in order, and it will change how you quote going forward. This is exactly the kind of check the Landscape Business AI Assistant can do for you automatically. Feed in your job costs and it flags which contracts are actually thin on margin rather than you running the sums by hand once a quarter if you're lucky. 2. Monthly reporting is not optional. If you're only looking at your numbers once a year, at year end, for your accountant, you are running the business on guesswork for the other 11 months. That's not a criticism, it's just the reality of how most trades businesses operate by default because nobody ever sets up the habit. A proper monthly report doesn't need to be complicated. You need to see revenue against cost of sales so you know your gross margin trend. You need to see which jobs are outstanding to invoice because late invoicing is one of the most common silent killers of cash flow in this industry. And you need a simple view of overheads against what the business is actually generating so a bad month doesn't sneak up on you 3 months later when the bank balance finally catches up. This is exactly where a good accountant, and I mean a proper one who understands trades businesses like Kim, earns their fee many times over. Not by doing your tax return once a year, but by giving you a monthly rhythm you can actually trust and act on. If your current accountant only speaks to you in April, that's worth a conversation. The Landscape Business AI Assistant can sit alongside that relationship too, pulling your monthly numbers together automatically so what lands in front of your accountant is already clear rather than a shoebox of receipts sorted the night before. 3. Separate cash flow from profit. This is the one that catches good, profitable businesses out, and it surprises people every time. A job can be genuinely profitable on paper, a healthy margin, everything costed correctly, and still cause a serious cash flow crisis purely because of timing. If you're buying materials up front, paying your crew weekly, but not invoicing the client until the job finishes 6 weeks later, and then waiting another 30 days for payment, you can be hemorrhaging cash the entire time, even though the job will eventually show a healthy profit. Profit is what the job is worth. Cash flow is whether you can survive long enough to collect it. Build a simple weekly habit. 10 minutes. Same time every week. 3 questions. What's owed to me right now? What do I owe out? And what's due to land or leave in the next 14 days. That single habit catches problems while there's still time to act. Chasing an invoice, delaying a purchase, having an honest conversation with a supplier, rather than discovering the problem the day you can't make payroll. The Landscape Business AI Assistant can keep that weekly picture ready for you automatically, rather than you needing to chase it down from 3 different places every Friday. Here's what ties all 3 of those together. None of them work if the information is scattered across spreadsheets, a shoebox of receipts, WhatsApp messages, and someone's memory. Job costing, monthly reporting, weekly cash flow, every one of them depends on the underlying information being organised and accessible in one place, not chased down after the fact. This is exactly the kind of thing AI is now genuinely good at in the background, pulling job costs together automatically, flagging a margin that's slipping before you've noticed it yourself, doing the number crunching that used to eat your evenings. What that business I told you about actually needed, underneath the accounting fix, was a proper company operating system. One place where job data, costs and reporting all live, visible to the people who need to see them, whether they're in the office or out on site with a tablet in the van. That's it for this episode. If you're finding this useful, hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss the next one. Here's the thing I want you to remember. Every hour you save on paperwork and quoting is an hour back with your family. That's the real return. Not the software, not the systems, the life you get back. What you've heard today is just one piece of it. The Landscape Business AI Assistant does exactly this kind of thing across every part of your business: sales, marketing, operations, recruitment, strategic alliances, and finance, all in one place, built specifically for landscape and outdoor living businesses. If you want to see it for yourself, go to assistant.landscapebusinessmastery.com and watch it work. And if you'd like some help beyond the software, one-to-one coaching, or team leader and manager training for your business, head to nickruddle.com. Both links are in the show notes too. I'm Nick Ruddle. See you next time.